All right, so yeah, so we looked at all the phases. Started from the initiation phase, uh, the things, what the initiation phase is about, documents that you need. I'm sure, Tumi, the last class which you attended, we looked at how to do like a project charter, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so and then we picked it up from there. And then we picked it up from there, looked at the documentation. And I was saying in the last class that 60 to 70% of your work as a project manager, apart from, making sure everything is going according to plan, is that you'll be doing a lot of documentation, right? You'll be doing a lot of follow-up, you'll be doing a lot of documentation, checking to see if things are going according to plan. You'll be doing a lot of documentation, mostly, right? Project charter, project management plan, stakeholder analysis, and a ton of those stuff. You'll be doing a lot of that as a project manager. So I mean, you need to, get yourself acquainted with those things. Right. Yes, so we looked at this, and then we looked at the planning phase, where you'd be doing a lot of the work mostly. So you would have to draw up a project plan. We'll take a look at the project plan just to see. So we'll take a look at an example, and then we'll also try and take a look at the templates that we can work along with, right? I mean, the necessary documentation that you need: a project plan, a work breakdown structure, a risk estimate plan, a risk management plan, cost estimate. Cost estimates is basically, the amount you're looking to spend in the project as a whole. Resource allocation means, the people, if you want to build a cross-functional team, or how you want to, use how you want to implement the project that you're looking to most. So depending on the kind of organization that you work with, or that you are moving into, some companies have a PMO, which is basically called a project management office, right? And some teams have some companies don't have that. So you would have to set up a more or less like a project team. And the project team can be cross-functional. What that means is a person can come from HR, from finance, basically try to, pull in the teams that would be gaining from that particular project, right? So you can pull in someone from finance, because obviously they have to pay. You can pull in someone from HR, depending on the kind of project that you're looking at. Pulling someone from technology if it's a technology project. I mean, so depending on, what kind of project it is, that would help you to, make sure that you've carried everybody along. That would make sure that you've carried everybody along, right? Yes. And then, yeah, we took a look at a work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure is basically how you want to break down the tasks according to all the different phases that you have, the major things that you have to do along the line. Then we took a look at risk management. What a risk is. Sorry, just a second. Sorry. Yes. So risk management. A risk is is an event that occurs, right? Whether sometimes it can lead to something good, but I mean, like I was saying last week, always something always happens, right? And it's your job to always make sure that you prepare for those things that might happen. It can be an earthquake, it can be a director resigning, someone that is sponsoring the project, it can be one of your lead engineers resigning or saying he's no longer interested in the project. I mean, a million and one things can happen. It's your job as a project manager to try and plan for those eventualities, right? And then we looked at the different roles of people when we are trying to manage risks. The risk owner, the project team, the project manager, and the other risk key stakeholders in the organization. We looked at how to identify risk. So brainstorming. Basically, everybody sits down in a room and they are trying to find out, what are the best ways to classify those risks or identify those risks, right? So everybody starts to put ideas on the table, and then you start to weigh those ideas. Where risk is concerned, no idea is stupid, right? Because you never can tell, what can happen. Where risk is concerned, interviewing, speak to stakeholders, speak to as many people as you can, people in finance, HR, technology, basically to understand what it is that the idea or whatever they think that can result in risks, right? And then we took a look at risk analysis, the different types, qualitative, the probability and impact. Probability means that the likelihood that it would occur. So basically falls into three categories: high, medium, and low, right? So case in point is probability of an earthquake occurring in Nigeria is low because we are nowhere tectonic plates, right? But the impact that would happen if that happens, right, is going to have a big impact, right? So so you draw out your risk classification and then you share that and you continue to monitor your risk as you go along. You looked at different risk response planning. You can either avoid, you can mitigate, you can accept, you can plan for a contingency plan, have a contingency plan, and you can transfer. Transfer is more or less you doing some sort of insurance, right? And then insuring your projects with risk with insurance companies, right? Then we took a look at risk monitoring and controlling. So for monitoring and controlling, once you've identified a risk or sets of risk, it's always better to assign it to a risk owner. That risk owner would continue to monitor that risk and then continue to update you as that goes along. That way, so once you do that, right, you will not be caught unawares. It's the responsibility of the risk owner to continue to monitor that event or that risk event and say, hi, Tommy, or hi, Busola, this is the issue. I've encountered this issue. And then your job as a project manager is to say, okay, what can we do? Should we accept it? Should we avoid it? Should we mitigate it? Should we transfer that risk to another department, or should we transfer it to an insurance? If it's beyond your control, then you can then escalate to maybe senior management or the project or the project owner or project sponsor. Right? So you need to continue to monitor and control risks. Yes, and then I think I also showed an example of a risk register last week. Yes, and then tools and practices. You always have a risk log to categorize your risks, right? Always have a risk log. It always makes sense for you to have a risk log so that you can categorize. And then you can always close it. If that risk is no longer relevant, you can close it, right? So case in point might be an engineer saying that he's planning to leave, and then you are eventually able to speak to that engineer, and then he says, look, okay, I'll be able to finish the project with you. That risk no longer exists because you guys have sorted it out, and then that probably extended his contract or giving him more money, depending on whatever it is, right? And then if it's no longer considered a risk, or if that risk is no longer valid, you can close that risk and say this risk was closed based on 1, 2, 3 actions that we took. 3 actions rather that we took. Yes, then the execution phase is basically when you start executing the project, right? You start, the project has started, you started working with developers, people are giving status updates on a daily basis. This is what's happening. This is what has happened on this particular project. And these are the immediate next steps, right? So that's what execution is. You continue to carry the project work according to the project plan, and then the work breakdown structure. Making sure that your resource allocation is, you're not spending more than usual. You're not. The idea is to make sure that you keep your spending below budget, right? Quality control, make sure that there's no deviation from the original plan where it comes to quality. Communication means that you need to keep your stakeholders involved. You need to drop a communication plan. What that means is, if you want to do your project meetings every week, or if you want to do it on a daily basis, depending on the type of project it is. So you set your time, how you want to communicate with the project team. You also set a time on how you want to communicate with project owners and then project sponsors. Do you want to send out weekly emails or status report emails to everybody to say, okay, this is where we are, the project, these are the issues, the project is still on track, or the project is no longer on track, and the rest. Sorry, just a second. Trying to see how. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So so that's the execution. So you also change management. In project management, there's something we call board change board, right? Change board basically means that if anything wants to change within a project, right? So case in point was, I think the example we are using when we started the class was, we're trying to build an attendance management system. Tommy, I think I'm correct, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Abdurrahman. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Tommy, right? I think I'm correct. And Lusola, yeah. Yes, so we're trying to, so a change can be people we are signing in with emails, but someone now comes and says, we want people to be able to sign in with their fingerprint. So you have to build that into the plan, right? And like I was saying last week, changes would always occur. So it's your job as a project manager to always make sure that whatever change that decides to occur, you get the right and necessary approval before you go ahead for to start implementing. If it means that it would affect your project schedule or project cost or project resources, you want to state all of that into your change management plan, and then share that information with project sponsor, with leadership or with management, as the case may be. And I said that the execution phase, documenting the get your progress reports, your change requests, your quality assurance, the communication plan, decide on how you want to communicate. If you want to do emails, if you want to do WhatsApp, but make it official and professional as much as possible, right? The monitoring and closing definition. So your monitoring and closing is basically just keeping track of the project, right? And making sure that the project is going according to plan. Progress tracking, continuously monitor project progress. Continue to monitor your risk management. Make sure you document, any access, any change to the project scope or plan or resources, whatever it is that you do in project management. Always make sure that it's documented. It will come back to save you in the long run, especially when you have to deal with a lot of office politics. So always document whatever it is that you do. A few things that you might need: status reports, your issue log, your risk register, your change control documentation, and all of those, right? So that was what we looked at last week, and then the closing phase, handing over the project to the project owner, and then signing off, doing some post support, making sure that everything was in line with what was agreed, and then ensure that all the project documentation is organized and archived for future references. Also good to learn or to document what it is that you've learned in that particular project and that you won't be doing in the next project. Basically, some sort of lessons that you've learned, right? So last week that was what we did. We took a look at the different phases of project management and how to go through each of those phases, and then the documentations that were involved as well. Before we kick off, any other questions? Any questions?
No question. I went through it during the week, and now that you've explained, I think I'm good.
Thank you. That was to me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Abdulrahman, any question? Busola, any question?
Yeah, I'm okay. We're fine.
Okay.
We're fine.
Busola, if you're speaking, I'm not sure we can hear you. Okay. All right. So just gonna kick off. Yeah. So I did say that I was going to share an example of a project management plan, and then we'll also try and replicate, right, one for ourselves. Let me just pull this up. All right, let me share this. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So this is a project plan. So basically, one of the first things you see, a project management plan. So you see the version, how many times it's been tweaked, and then what were the differences when they tweaked them, right? So the first one was the original document. The second one was they updated the OCCO and PUC staff. They changed the IES. They changed the new format. So every time you make a change to your project management plan, always make sure that you have a version history, right? And the version history means that so version 1.1, version 1.2, what changed in version 1.2? A new scope was added, so make sure that that was added to your document. Then you have your table of contents. There's a sample that we'll use, and then we'll take a look at that. You have your table of contents. So we have our introduction, what the project is going to be about, project governance, our scope management plan, our schedule management plan, our cost management plan, stakeholders, resources, procurement, requirements, communication, risk, change, and then quality. The project overview is basically what the project will be about, right? Then the governance is how the team is going to be structured, mostly. So this is how the team will be structured. We'll have a steering committee. A steering committee in projects usually are the ones that take decisions, right? And the ones that take decisions on, especially when it comes to change. I mean, they'll take necessary decisions. So you can see governance of the project representing the interest of the stakeholders, and then the resolve issues escalated by the project sponsor. Then you have the advisory committee. What do they do? They advise the project sponsor, project requirements, project scope, and then project progress. Then they change board approval. They review and analyze requests, decision making. So their meeting here is weekly, but here they have monthly, and then here they have monthly as well. They approve or reject change requests. Some change requests may need to be escalated to this project sponsor and the steering committee meeting. So if has gone over your head and the project sponsor's head, it goes to the change board and then also goes to the steering committee so that they can take an informed decision. Then project governance structure. So this is what the structure looks like. Commission chair, the ED, steering committee, the change board, project team, chief information officer, the project manager, and the rest. So, I mean, always good to have your architecture as well. And then roles and responsibilities. This executive director, and what's his role? His role is an executive sponsor, and then necessary responsibilities that he has to take, right? This is the project sponsor as well. The steering committee, they have all their names and then their responsibilities. The project manager, his name, and then responsibilities. The assistant project manager, responsibilities. So when you are drawing your project plan, always make sure that everybody that needs to work on that project, make sure that everybody is listed out, and then the roles and then the responsibilities that they'll be taking on. So your scope management plan. I remember when we were doing our project charter, we mentioned something about scope management, right?
Yes.
Yes, and then we said scope management is basically the things that we need that are going to go into the project that we need to make sure that we list them out, at least on a high level, right? Your project management plan, we need to do what? We need to now list them out, right? And say these are the things that are going to be included. Our scope management, our roles and responsibilities, then the scope definition, our work breakdown structure. We took a look at the work breakdown structure last week. Our scope validation and deliverable tracking, how to track these deliverables, right? So basically our schedule management is basically a tracker or to see if you're on time or not on time, right? And then you also put all of those there as well. So what I'm going to do now is, rather than us going through, let me just pull up the sample, and then we can try and do that together as a team.
Okay.
Just a second. All right. Let me know if you guys can see this.
Yes.
All right. So our introduction, purpose of the project management plan. What is our purpose of this plan? And we're just going to put a short description so that we don't take too long, right? And you don't have one template for everything, right? What I mean is the template that I use might not be the template that Raman uses, or the template that Busola uses, or the template that Otomi uses, right? Template, it depends on what suits the project and then what suits your organizations as well, right? So different templates exist. You just need to do one that you're comfortable with, and then that everyone is comfortable with as well. So if we go through this executive summary of the project charter, our assumptions and constraints, right? So let's just do this. Okay. Remember, I said earlier that we said that every time we make a change, we are going to have to do a version history, right? So let's say this enable that. All right. So it's not allowing me edit. Just a second. All right, just a second. Let me save this. Okay. All right. So who is our project manager? Fantastic. Right. What's today's date? Today's date is 25th,
25.
2023. Who approved it? Let's say I approved it. What's today's approval date is 25, 11, 2023. Description of change. This is going to be empty. Why? Because this is the first version, right? So
Okay.
there's no need to, so we can leave this empty. If we change something, say we added a new scope, we can then now say, right, so let's say we did that yet, right, right, that date was also that yet. And then what was the change? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. Close.
To me,
Yes. Brilliant.
Salah. So yes, so I mean, every time you make a change, you just come here and say, "This is a new version, added a new scope. This was what we added to this document, right?" Right. And then we put our table of content, introduction, project characterization, assumptions, blah blah blah, purpose. So this project management plan is for internal stakeholders to have an overview of the employee attendance application that will be implemented and owned by the human resource team. Projects will commence on the 25th November 2023 and will end on the on the what? So we're going to use a quarter, right? So 3 months will end on the 28th
January ending.
of February
In February.
2024. Plan Plan addresses all the necessary information required and also takes into consideration inputs from all the necessary stakeholders. So that's that's an introduction. Are we good, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So that starts right. All right. So project characterization basically means that what we want to do in this project, right? And we said that what did we want to do? Create an attendance register for all employees in the organization, right? And what would the register do? We'll capture all staff attendance going in and out of the office of the headquarter building. Right. What else is it going to do? This is where I need your input. Yeah.
Okay. So also enable for payroll to help the HR for payroll.
We know assist HR to administer proper payroll and weed out ghost workers, right? What else?
Yeah. It's going to also help in assisting for overtime payments or salary
Assist
deductions.
calculating overtime, salary deductions, hours worked.
Okay, that's absenteeism.
Right. Help to constantly validate counts within the premises and also in the case of fire counts.
Yeah.
So me, any suggestions? Solar, any suggestions?
I think these are the major functions.
So
Yes.
hi to me, I'm not sure I got you. You want to come?
I said
You want?
are the major functions of the
Okay.
Mm.
On this, we can also add maybe part of the change of project scope. We can also add maybe the biometrics can also serve as access control for staff into the building. So it's not
Yes.
just before time attendance. But we could do that under change of project scope.
Help use biometrics serve as access control to
To the
rightful
office.
members of staff. All right, great. So making sense so far, people? Good.
Yeah.
Great. So our exec asks, so executive summary of project charter. So provide an executive summary of the approved project charter, provide a reference to the approved project charter. So what we can do here, since we have a project charter, we'll just say kindly see approved project charter, right? And then put the link. Maybe it was located in just one file or a folder, maybe your Google Drive and projects Google Drive, right? So what are our assumptions? What are we assuming that we are going to get? Say we are going to assume that human resources can validate all employee data, right? And by employee bio data, right? People.
Yes.
Any other assumptions? What other assumptions are we making? Tell me, Busola, Raman.
Okay.
So assumptions are basically we believe that we are going to have, right?
Yes.
For example, we believe that human resource should have everybody's data. That's an assumption, right? And another assumption is that we believe that we have the let me see, maybe we'll get funding for this support for this project, right?
Yes.
So another assumption will be funding for this project will be available what's it called? What's that?
Disbursed or approved.
Yeah, so okay, approval has been given in principle during Q3's what's it called? Budgets,
Okay.
budget approval or budget presentation. Right.
Okay.
These are assumptions. So, me any example?
All standard operating procedures are there too.
All necessary standard and safety protocols adhered to during the selection process of vendors. So let's look at a constraint. What's a constraint that you think we might have?
Enrollment on the device, due to, whenever there's a new change in an organization, oftentimes when it comes to digitalization, there's a lot of reluctancy of adopting a new challenge or a new process in the organization. So oftentimes there's reluctances or resistance in the new system.
So I see. Technical, no in-house technical competence to deliver projects. What else? To me, Drama and Musola, what are the constraints that we might have when we are trying to implement this?
Time?
Time. How do you mean time?
Also, enrollment to the device also is it's just a time. It has to be time constrained. We don't have all the whole third quarter for enrollment. Enrollment should just be done for maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then
Okay.
the project will move to the next phase.
Okay. Trying to see how best to friend now. Um, so me any suggestions? Sola, any suggestions?
I think this will be hard for now. Let's see.
Okay.
Time goes on. Plenty comes up with repeat.
So me are not answering me today.
I
Why?
said, I said no. I think I'm with
Please, can anyone hear me?
Okay, we can
Hello?
hear you. We've been calling your name since Busola. Good
Oh,
afternoon.
I thought that I've actually been talking, but I don't know what happened.
We can hear your name. We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So I said the funding might be an issue because the budgets for the project might be a bit
Mm.
above the budget for Q3. I don't know if it makes sense.
Okay, so why not
Mhm.
say late disposal of funds?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we
Even
can
apart from this,
just,
even apart from disbursement, disbursing, they can
yes.
also have an issue of variation of the funds. But as already said, sha, if the funds has been approved, then
Yeah.
the only constraint can be the disbursing. Yeah.
Lateness of, yeah, true.
Okay.
Any other constraints before we move on?
Hmm.
Assumptions.
Let me put competence. Maybe
Mhm.
wrong biodata. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
wrong information, wrong employee details.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I mean, this is just for our case study here. So I mean, these are examples of assumptions um and constraints, right? But as you walk through your project as a project manager, you want to make sure that you walk across, as many. You don't have to do it alone, right? You can have your project team. You
Okay.
can brainstorm. You can ask questions. Basically, so that you capture everything and then you prepare for it, right? And then you're not caught unawares, right? So we'll move on to scope management. So we said that. What were the things that we concluded that we are going to be in this particular one?
Mm,
Raman, Tommy, Solar. So I remember one of them was we said that people were going to sign on,
yeah.
right, or to log in with
Using their fingerprint.
their
Yeah.
fingerprints and key cards,
Mm,
Yeah.
right? Admin to have a backend or a
Mhm.
dashboard
you.
for real time viewing, right? What else?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm, mm,
Okay. Also, there should also be a column or a space for where a staff can easily log in and request for lateness, like if staff is running going to be 20 minutes late,
Okay, all right.
or
So
and
yeah,
also if the staff is not be coming up showing up for work, so probably the allowance is you have to inform 2 hours before your resumption or
absence and lateness. Okay, let me see. Out of Any other thing?
Consequences for I don't know how to put it, but consequences for maybe coming late or not signing in and out.
Okay. I mean, so the admin portal should be able to view that. But
Okay.
we can say, how do we frame this?
Penalties or disciplinary actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
It could be penalties for constant lateness or more than two lateness. Because there's always an allowance.
so the HR will get prompts when people come late or they did not come to work, basically, so that they can track. Yeah, so this is our scope. Then our work breakdown structure.
What did you say? Calling sick, but I think it will stand for lateness and showing up late for vacation.
Yes, so yeah, this is what that will cover. So this is an out of office application for people who are going to be running late or not showing up. So you can just go on the portal, you sign in with your login details, and then make a request to say you will not be coming in.
Okay.
All right, so we've done this. I remember we did a breakdown structure in our last class, right? And so we can just say kindly refer to WBS document stored in the project's Google Drive. All right. All right, so what's our deployment plan? Means that, so we are saying that projects, the application, right, will be deployed after all necessary tests and use cases have been validated, right? It will also be first of all deployed into a control environment and pilot users will pilot use will be conducted for the first 3 weeks. After that, it will be open to users. Also, it will be hosted cloud so as to accommodate of site users who plan to report lateness or out. So what this basically means, what this basically means is, so we are going to do a controlled live test, right? Once everyone has tested and all the users have validated the use cases and the scope that we've agreed, we'll put it into a pilot environment for a handful of people to test for 3 weeks, right? Once they've tested it and it works, and then we can now go live and everybody can start to use, right? Also, we would also be hosting it on a, what's it called? On the cloud. So either Azure, AWS. So Azure and AWS are basically service providers. So Azure is Amazon. Azure is Microsoft rather. AWS is Amazon, right? There's also Google. So it'll be hosted on the cloud so that anybody that wants to report that he'll be coming late or will be out of office due to some family emergency or unforeseen circumstances can log on to the portal and then use. So that's our deployment plan. Any questions in that? More than happy to answer. Are we good, people?
Yes, yeah.
We can go on. Busola, to me.
Yes, yes.
Great. All right. So what's our change control plan? Anybody want to answer? How do we? So basically, change control means that if someone wants to change something or we have a request for us to add an additional feature during the project, how should we approach it? Busola, how do you think is the best way to approach such a request?
I don't know if it's the same thing as creating a version history.
Yes, it's similar. So basically let me give you an example, right? An example is our project is we are trying to develop an attendance platform, right? And we've said that we want people that are just going to be able to sign in with their key cards and fingers. Right? So a senior person now comes and says that, Busola, you're the project manager, but I want you to be able to, we need to add an additional feature so that people can be able to sign in. And that feature is their office email, right? That means you have to go back to the board. You have to go back to change approval to get, remember I said that change approval is done by the change approval board, right? So that they make whatever request that you want to make to an ongoing project. They can either accept or refuse, depending on the implications of the project, right? Or the implication on resources, on budget, and on people, on costs. Right. So let's now say I'm one of the key stakeholders, right? And I come to you and say, Busola, I want you to add this feature. So how do you think we should handle that? So that is what this, what the change control management is about.
Okay. So I think first of all is to discuss with the change approval team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Then yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. Discuss with the change approval team. Then after that, once it has been approved by the change approval team, then we need to look for someone that is skillful in that area. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Please go ahead.
So we need to get someone that is skilled in that area. And then we also need to look at the budget for that particular change.
All right. So I'm going to put this. So all change requests will be documented, right, including with necessary details in relation to scope, resources, and time. And this will be shared with the change board for approval. Upon approval, the project team will brainstorm and decide on how best to approach the change requests. This is more just like a short version, right? So we'll document the change, we'll send it to the change board. If they say they are good, we would pick it up and then we'll see how best to implement. And also we will also update the project management plan accordingly to reflect the new changes. Does that make sense, people?
Yes, it makes sense. But I want to ask a question. So in a situation, hello?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so I said in a situation where the plan is not approved, so what's going to happen? Even though the request is coming from above,
Okay.
yeah. So in a situation where it's not approved by the change approval team, so what's going to happen at that point?
So if your change is not approved, right, what would happen is you would also document that, but you won't put it in the project management plan, right? In that case, you just document it for and archive it for reference to say, look, we got a change request. It wasn't approved, but this was the change request that that we got. The person who made the request, and you just make sure you always, like I said, always make sure that you have references. It will save you later on to go on the job. Hello?
Hello, yes, I got what you said.
Mama and Tommy, any questions?
It's fine. We're okay.
All right, good. Tommy has been quiet today. I hope all is well. Great. All right, fantastic. Okay, this is 12. Do we want to do like a 5 minutes? Stretch our legs, drink water, and come back by 12:08.
Yes.
All right. So we'll be back 12:08, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, I don't know if everyone is back.
Hello.
Yeah, we're here.
Great. All right, so kick off. So we've looked at, and then we do our project management schedule. Our schedule basically is how we want to work. Basically, what we aim to complete um, in the process, right? And those usually consist of milestones, and we're going to put a few milestones here so that we see you know what it is that we are doing. So an example, sorry, key. So an example of milestone is concluded due diligence and selection of vendors. So let's say by 20th, 2012, 2023, right? Okay, sorry. Set up project team across HR, tech, finance, and admin, right? This should be done by 5, 12. Complete vendor selection process. This should be done by 10th, 2023. What else? What else are we looking to do?
The
People?
milestones so far, or
Yeah,
milestones to the end of the
milestones.
project
Yeah,
so far.
milestones. Yeah. So collation of what's it called? Biodata. So I've done this by 15/12, 2023. Okay. What else?
And after collection of biodata, there was the I'll say uploading, or I'll say the what's the word again? The capturing of the biodata to the devices.
We update, load, capture data to development environments. 2023.
Creating a portal, right?
What kind of portal?
Sir?
I said what kind of portal?
Like the dashboard portal,
That's an
web-based
attendance
portal.
portal also.
And that's the web-based portal.
And that's portal. Done this um, by sorry, 05/01/2024.
The biometric system should have been developed.
Perfect. Okay.
Oh, this should have been done by 20th/01/2024. One, 2024. Start updating use cases. 5/2024. Starts with start user testing. User training. User training. Sorry, just a second, guys. Sorry, yes. So we'll do our go live, we'll do our user training, and just. Are we good? Any questions so far?
Yeah, okay.
So, great. All right. Just a second, guys.
Okay.
Okay, back. Yeah, so any questions, guys? We can go on. Let me adjust this. Okay. Yes, then our product schedule to schedule drive project. All right, so dependencies. Any idea who can tell me can anyone tell me what a dependency is? Any volunteers? To me. Can you guys still hear me? I hope I'm not speaking alone.
No, right here, right here.
Yeah, so I was saying that anyone tell me what a dependency is?
Mm, I don't even know what the project dependency is.
I think I don't know. I'm just going to say it as it comes. But I think it's something, probably it's a characteristic that you can't do without in a project.
So basically, I mean, you're close, right, Busola? So a
Mm.
dependency is basically what it means is I need that stuff to do my work, right? So what do you do if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
So what do you
Hello?
do? Let me ask you. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a nurse. I work as a nurse.
And us. Okay. So for you, a dependency would be um.
A patient.
No. So a dependency would be
Okay.
you making sure that the machine that you use to check patient's BP is that's a dependency, right?
Yeah.
Making
Or
sure the patient vitals are
exactly that's a
taken.
dependency. Another dependency would be that if you have a tab, if you guys use a tab to check patients what's it called?
Vitals.
Patient
Data.
biodata. Yes, so that's a dependency.
Okay.
That's a dependency. So I mean, so
So
it
our
means
dependency then is the
sorry.
biometric device itself.
Yes, exactly. So that's a dependency. So a dependency is something that you need, that if you don't get it out of the way, if you don't have it, you won't be able to do your job, right? If you need to give someone a maybe, so I'm going to use my Grey's Anatomy's small knowledge. If you, if you need to give somebody maybe 5 cc of epi or 5 cc of lorazepam and it's not available, that's a dependency. You can't do your work unless you have those all of that.
Yeah.
So that's a dependency. For a project like this, just like Raman said, you need what's it called?
The time attendance device.
Yeah, the biodata devices. So that's a dependency. If this does not work, then the project is more or less dead. So this needs to be delivered on this. So this is a dependency. You also need to make sure that payments to vendors at time, because if you don't pay them on time, your project might suffer, right?
Yes.
Right. What else could be our dependency? We are dependent on the vendors as well, right? Because we are not building this application in-house. So vendors' competency to deliver the projects, right? Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Great. All right. So those are dependencies, and then costs. So say as per approved budgets, total cost of the project would come to, let's say, 250,000 GBP. This will cover. So what is it going to cover? It's going to cover vendor fees, launch for 3 months for the project team, right? What else?
Funds for project team.
Cloud storage fees for 1 year. Yeah, Rama, you wanted to say?
I said also the salaries or funds for the project
Yes.
team.
I mean, so if we are just choosing project teams internally, then we might not need to pay them, but we might just say incentive for projects for internal project team. Tommy, any other fees that you think we haven't covered? Hi, Tommy. So, any other fees you think we haven't covered?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
What about for the devices?
Yes. So, yeah, that's going to be supplied by the vendors
Vendor.
that are going to do that for us.
Okay. So will there be a need to like put aside some money for maybe extra
Right?
yes, miscellaneous?
Okay. So, let's see. Rama, remember we discussed miscellaneous in our last class?
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, we can always say miscellaneous for emergencies, for unforeseen circumstances. Right. So so for quality, we have to make sure that sorry, someone's calling me. All right, so me got that. Okay, so our quality management basically means that um the application developed by the vendors will be subject to data privacy checks to make sure that staff information is not being harvested.
Tommy sent a message that where she is very noisy. That's why she's unable to
Yes,
respond.
I've seen that. Yeah, for personal use. Another quality will be make sure that supplied devices are of the highest standard in the market, right? I mean, so basically, this is you just putting the necessary quality controls and necessary quality in place as well, so that, especially when it comes to staff, you don't want people just harvesting your data and then training it out there and then selling it to other people, right? You also need to make sure that they sign maybe some sort of design post implementation support for a period of say 6 to 12 months, and make sure that all passwords and sign-ons are handed over to the project team. So basically, this way, you know that your data would not be compromised, and all of the information that you have are properly safe and So that's basically what what quality is about. Make sure that the quality of the devices that you are going to use makes sense. They are not just, what's it called? They are not just China or sub quality products. They need to,
Okay.
they need to be quality products. For staffing, the internal project team will consist of team members across different functions. So you have HR, you have technology, you have
IT
finance,
manager.
you have finance, who else?
Procurement.
You have procurement, fantastic. Admin, or better still, let me do this. So I have HR, and admin. Yeah. Right, project team training, necessary training will be communicated to the team members on how to set up and manage the existing platform. Basically, once they're done, it's the project team that will continue to. So if you onboard a new staff, the project team will be able to do, to onboard that staff. If there are issues, once they've handed over support, it's the project team that will be able to, continue to handle support, as the case may be, right? For communications, you can say project team once a week, say every Friday, right? Steering committee, once a month, so it can be last Friday of the month. Project sponsor once a month or once in 2 weeks. So this can be every other Friday, right? Who else are we communicating with? Is there any other person we are communicating with?
No, I think.
Okay, great. Everybody, right?
Yeah, and also as I said, you should always document every information and every processes that we do, make have references to every decisions or actions carried out.
Yeah. Great. All right, so yeah, this is us. Yeah, this is just basically just repeating what we put here. For risk management, so we say kindly refer to our risk management plan and risk log in the Google Drive for the project. Right. Same for issue management and the same for issue log. This is the next people that need to sign on the project. Yeah. We literally don't need this. Like I said, depends on the templates, but you don't need this for our small project. So basically, that's how we draw a project management plan. I'll share this as well with you guys so you can fine tune and go ahead. Yeah. So this is our what's it called? Our project management plan. It looks tedious, and like I said, this is just because it's we are just doing things on the fly. But the minute you have all the information that you need, it's easier for you to populate. And most times you won't do it alone. You have your project team to give you as much input as possible so that you don't miss out any information and everyone is on the same page. Are we good, guys? So far, so good.
Yes, I think it's better for one having a project team and one could share
Yes.
information
I mean, you
together.
always have, and the project management plan would always be open. So you guys can always pick out maybe 1 hour or 2 hours a day, depending on how long you need to take write the project.
Yeah, but does it happen that just the project manager alone can just design the whole thing himself, or it's not appropriate?
You would always need input from people, right? You can't do it in isolation.
Okay.
You always need input from stakeholders. For example, your risk log. You need input from people. You're brainstorming on what risks are. You need input from as many people as much as possible. So it's not something you can do alone. I mean, you would always go back and forth, asking questions on a regular basis.
Okay.
So let's go back to our. So I mean, in a short summary, that's our what's it called? Our project management plan. All right. So role of the project manager. So most times, like I said, job descriptions may vary, but most include planning, scheduling, coordinating, and working with the people to achieve project goals. And what our project goals, what we've set out for that project to do. Then also remember that 97% of successful projects were led by experienced project managers who can help influence success factors. Apart from it's a huge chunk of your work being documentation and all of that. Another huge chunk of your work, whether you fail or succeed as a project manager, has a lot to do with your people management, right? So how you relate to people, how you speak to people, how much influence you have on people to help you get the job done. And whether you like it or not, right? A lot of that comes into play. You need to be a people person, not so much of a people person that they don't get the job done. You need to be able to find a balance between, being able to understand people's plight and then having a relationship with the people you work with, and then also them being able to deliver the job that you've asked them to deliver, right?
Okay.
So you need to be able to find that balance, and that balance is very, very key when it comes to project management. Suggested skills, the body of knowledge. I know in the UK, Prince 2 is pretty popular, but that's also gradually fading out because a lot of people are doing agile project management, and then we'll take a look at that from next week. A lot of people are taking a look at jumping into agile project management because most of the projects that you'll be working on, especially as you transition into tech, will mostly be technology, software products, right? Someone wants to build an app, an organization is trying to develop an interface.
Yeah, sorry, I was about to ask you this. Sorry to cut you. I'm sorry. Okay, I've always wanted to ask you the project management we are studying right now. Is it something into tech also?
Yes. So I mean, by the time we start doing agile, you see how that plays out. Where you start looking at writing user stories. So user story is basically you looking at things from a user perspective, right? You saying I want to be able to log in into a platform. I want to be able to pull out my email address. I want to be able to store this information Yeah, so agile project management helps you to do that, a lot more efficiently. We'll look at how to write stories and then also assign story points to them. We'll do all of that. We'll take examples. We'll do some class examples on that as well. We're already using case studies, so we'll use, which is the attendance management. So we'll use that example as well, and then see how we can manage projects from a digital or from a technology perspective. Right. And we'll be using a framework called Scrum. Across your work as an engineer or as the project manager, in the UK, 99% of the jobs when they say agile project management has to do with Scrum, and then maybe a little bit of Kanban, but we'll take a look at both as well. But Scrum is the most famous one, and a lot of people are using it in the UK. A lot of tech companies, a lot of big and small are using that, even in the UK, Nigeria as well. Like I said, most of the organizations that I've done some projects for and the ones that I currently work with have been able to transition fully into Agile because it makes work easier and then you're able to deliver value to the customer on a constant basis. Right. Yes, application areas, knowledge, project environment, general management, soft skills. Like I said, your soft skills would really need to come into play as a project manager. You need to be able to handle people. I know. This is me just throwing this off the bat. People like Busola and Ntomi who work in people related sectors might be able to transition, a lot. Don't let me say easier, but let me say maybe faster because, for example, Busala would be able to calm down, calm down customer nurses or say to them patients when they're irate. For Tomi, she'll be able to handle, employees whenever they ask for this information from payslip to bank details and all of that stuff, right? So it just makes you being able to deal with people will make that easier, right? Just a second. Yes, so sorry about that. I have someone coming to check something. So we'll be, so to this class up, we're just basically looking at the different frameworks. There are ideally two frameworks when it comes to project management, right? And then this is the PMI framework and then the Prince2. That's for traditional frameworks, right? And then which is called waterfall. What that means is for traditional frameworks, what that means is you're going to start doing your stakeholder analysis from start, and then you won't start building until you've gotten everything captured. What I mean is you need to make sure that all your vendors are in place, you've gotten all your sign-offs, all your documentations are ready, you've drawn out your project management plan, you've drawn out your risk management plan, everything is ready, right? Before you start to build. And then you test. There is no room for error. There's no room for flexibility. Some little room for scope change. That is a traditional waterfall project management, platform. And those waterfalls, those things are basically gatewayed, permit me to use that word, by two bodies. One is called the Project Management Institute, and then the other one is called Prince2. For people in the UK like Raman and Busola, that is for your area, you have Prince2, right? For people for other parts of the world, what you would have is PMI, right? So that's when you say someone said he's done project management professional, PMP, and all of that, right? So that is that area. So those are the two. They basically tell you how to do projects from a traditional point of view, which is what we've been doing, right? So what happened is along the line, some other people came along and said, look, I want to be able to do projects, especially technology projects, and I want to be flexible so that when something happens, I want to be able to make amends and adjust as I go along, right? So therein steps Agile. And just like I was saying earlier, we'll be looking at something called Scrum and Kanban. Basically, what that does is it helps you to be able to flexible when you're implementing a product or implementing a project. They are basically saying that even if you get to the middle and a customer says, we don't want this feature anymore, you should be able to, make adjustments to whatever it is you're going to deliver to the customer based on Agile, and especially because it is a technology product. So from next week, we'll be looking at the Agile way of doing things, and which is what you guys will be needing for your transition and into tech. The past 2 weeks and this week has been for us to basically you having an idea, right, of what project management is about.
Okay.
So you having an idea so that it doesn't look like you don't have an idea of what project management is about. When we start going into Agile project management, you see how Agile works, how Scrum works. We'll probably do a few demo sessions to see. We'll share what the different tools, something called Jira and Trello, basically to see how you can move tasks, how people will be able to move tasks and then make those changes as you go along. On your day-to-day basis. There's also the hybrid approach. The hybrid approach basically means that you merging Agile and project management and then the waterfall model. Not a lot of people do that anymore. So people are just basically just doing either Agile. So depending on the industry you fall into, for example, if you fall into the construction industry, you basically be doing, traditional waterfall or traditional waterfall. But if you start doing digital projects, software projects, applications, websites, software development, product development, you'll most likely be handling those projects using Scrum, right, or Kanban, right? And then finally, Lean. Lean basically was started by the Japanese, Asians. Basically, you taking out all the waste in the project management cycle. If we don't need this process, let's take it out. If we don't need this process, let's take it out. Basically, just changing the process to which project management works, right? This framework is mostly used by people in the manufacturing sector, right? So your fast-moving consumer goods, your hardware stores, right? That's what that this part is usually used as. Yes. So that's basically an introduction to project management for us. Basically what we've done is we've tried to understand what project management is, the different phases, and then the different frameworks as well. I will be sharing the project management plan that I've just used, and then the risk management plan that we use, the risk log that we use. You guys can play around it. More than happy for questions whenever you guys have any. And I'm on the chat room as well, so just feel free to drop me a message. Any questions?
Okay. Yeah, okay, we're fine. Oh, sorry, I'm fine.
Solar Kitomi says is in the noisy place.
Yeah.
I'm fine. No questions.
No questions, great. So I'm on the chat room. If you need my help, please feel free to drop me a message. I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay.
So no more, to me, no questions. All right. Great. I think that's it from us today. I'll also share this document with you since we are done with the slides. You guys can go
Okay.
through it, ask any questions along that line as well. Great. Are we good, people? Let's all have a good weekend. Enjoy your Owambe if you are going to Owambe, and enjoy work. If you still have a shift.
They have a shift too.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right, thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Bisaya. Thank you, sir. All right,
All
sir.
right. Hi, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah.